Alright, so in this clip, we would like to talk about the further components of the Maya fluids. So we have got the fluid emitters. So as the name suggests, they are pretty straightforward. Fluid emitters are responsible for modifying the properties of the voxel inside the containers. As the name goes, it might be a little confusion that the fluid emitters are responsible for adding the fluid inside the container. Well, that's not the case. The fluid is already inside the container. We are just modifying or replacing the values or the properties of the voxels. Alright, so let's go ahead a little bit more. The generic objects of the Maya fluid container, which enables the flow of the density, temperature, fuel, and the velocity. Then obviously the question comes that what exactly the fluid emitters will going to emit inside the container. Well, the thing is that they would only be able to emit the properties of the density, temperature, fuel, and velocity, and at a certain extent the color also. Okay, so the emitter emits the values of density, as I've told you before also. Voxels inside the containers. So technically the container is in itself already filled up with voxels, so they just update the properties of the fluids. Okay, and then the case is that the rate of emission is contents per voxel per second. So here the word content could be replaced with any of the four above mentioned, which are the density, temperature, fuel, and the velocities. All right, so with that we are done with this one. So now I'd like to move to the type of the emitters. So Maya fluid has got several emitter types. Each has its own benefits. We can't say that this particular emitter is better than that one. It just depends on the type of reaction which we are looking forward for. Alright, so fluid emitters are of various types, with each one having its own benefits and contributions. First is that called as the point emitters. They are the 2D kind of the emitters that will going to emit the fluid from a point that has got a distance through which the fluid will going to be get emitted from that. And they are one of the most, you can say, the basic or the by default emitters you'll get once you start click the option of the fluids. And then we do have the surface emitters. As the name suggests, you may could start thinking of the polygons of the nerve surface. Yes, you're absolutely right if you're thinking. So at this point of time, we could able to emit the fluid from the polygon surfaces. Now you should also start taking the discussion to a little bit out of the box, like we do have a face or we do have a character through which we are emitting the fluid, or simply we have a piece of the wood which is through which we want the emission of the fire or the smoke, or think of the fact that we want to burn the whole piece of the wood. So in that case the whole polygon mesh should start burning. Okay, and we have the curve emitters as well. This simply means that you're able to select the curve, CV curve tools or EP curve tools, and the fluid will start getting emitted from the entire curves. And of course, very interesting, we have the particle emitters as well. That means that you could able to utilize your classic particles as well as the end particles as a kind of the emitter. So wherever the particles will going to move, the fluid will going to get emitted from them, and fluid will also going to get inherited. All right, and again we have one of the more interesting section that relates to the second point. Here we have the surface emitters again, but in this case we have the surface and we have the emission maps. Now think of the fact that you have a polygon piece of the wood and you want just would like to burn the fire from that, but I'm giving you the condition. The condition is that we just want the burning of the wood only from the starting section, or you may could say that the front end of the wood should get burned, not the entire wood. So in that case we need to lay out the UVs of that polygon piece of the geometry and have to assign a map. It could be the grayscale alpha map, and point to be noted is that the front end of the wood should have the white pixels allotted to that particular area, and the rest of the part should have the black pixels. That means the black color. So the combination of black and white, two colors, will let you emit the properties of the density, temperature, velocity, fuel only from the white zone of that polygon piece of the geometry. So that means that if you have a piece of a plane, you have a ramp, set it to the concentric circle type, in which the ramp is having a circle in the center which is the white color, and you want to emit the fluid only from the white zone of the texture. So with the help of this kind of surface emission map, you have the possibility to emit the fluid only from the sampled areas of your texture map, and sample area simply means that white pixels. No, the last one is the volumeter, which is, I think so, the default one also, and you may could get the accessibility of working with the spherical type, cylindrical type, conical, and torus. Okay, so with that, the section of the fluid components are done, and we understood the concept of the emitters as well, and the type of the emitters as well. Now we would like to take the discussion to a little bit more, and we would like to discuss about the Maya fluid container details. So you remember I talked about simple terms like, the Maya fluids are described with the following elements of its container properties, which are the density, velocity, turbulence, temperature, and the fuel. All right. So all these four components are extremely important. And the fact is that Maya is utilizing the fluids, or you may could say that the properties of the fluids are all listed inside these four important parameters. All right. So I would like to take a pause over here. I would like to begin with a fresh clip where I would be taking the discussion of the individual parameters of the fluid containers, and I would like to explain you each and every attribute, its importance, its role, or what exactly is the relevance of this attribute with respect to the Maya fluids. Alright, so we'll take a pause over here and see you in the next clip.